Shoot. What it says is that they are corrupted political actors who act in bad faith. The reason why people like Mark and people like Dahlia seem to have a crystal ball is because they're real, because they're realists, and they understand the court for what it is. And at some point, people in the media, people at home, and people sitting in the White House have to stop pretending that the Supreme Court is some kind of benign, trying to do its best institution, and start to realize that there are 6 Republicans, not conservatives, Republicans on the Supreme Court who view it as their job to help the Republican Party. And until we do something about that, until we take away that power, until we draw the line on them there, they will continue to do this. They will help Trump. They will take away abortion rights. They will end affirmative action. They will liberalize gun rights. They will do all of it until we stop them. And somebody needs to start listening in the higher echelons of the Democratic Party, because we will keep losing every day we allow these 6 Republicans in robes to rule over all of us. What it says is that they are.
Good morning and welcome to the Friday edition of Let It Be Known. There was no lie there, was it? No lie told there. And it's so interesting because we've been spending time this week at Biden's headquarters with the House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries as well. And it was so interesting because what you heard there, in a way, heard the same thing from Democrats. So it's so interesting. And so I've been doing some digging too, because as we reported, this Supreme Court situation, it delays these Trump trials. It delays really 2 of his trials, which is the documents case in Florida and the January 6th case. I'm understanding now that the New York case can go for it. However, the New York case, again, it does not really mean any jail time, and B, if there's a guilty verdict there, and if the judge wants to impose any type of sentence, whether it is prison or not, it's all going to be stayed until the Supreme Court makes its decision. And the New York case, without question, is the weakest. And of course, with the shenanigans in the Fulton County case down with District Attorney Fonnie Willis, that is certainly not going to be on track for any time this year, particularly as now they're jockeying to start the documents case sometime in August, if not September. So what was said there, just take it for verbatim because he was spot on. But a few things this morning, we're going to delve into. Vice President Kamala Harris brought some much needed good news. She announced some childcare reforms to help those in need the most. And the Congressional Black Caucus wants to protect African Americans from artificial intelligence and a lot of fraudulent activities that go on there. They held a press conference yesterday on Capitol Hill. Also, Mississippi Civil War Memorial now includes more Black history. We're going to tell you about that this morning. And a Black woman is now the oldest living person in America and the fifth oldest. She's believed to be the fifth oldest on the planet. And we're going to tell you about her very, very inspiring story this morning. And I got a bone to pick with Madonna. We all got a bone to pick with Madonna. But Madonna was forced to remove, and rightfully so, an AIDS tribute during her concert that featured Luther Vandross. Yeah, you heard that right. We're going to talk about that this morning. A couple other things, though, on the side. Terrence Howard. Listen, Terrence Howard he's a fantastic, great actor. I don't watch and I have not watched Empire, but I've seen clips and you know, he's all that and then some. But Terrence Howard, in a very serious matter, made me just bust out laughing, crying, laughing, belly aching, laughing. So Terrence Howard apparently owes the IRS about $1 million, and he doesn't pay taxes. Now, first and foremost, Terrence, have you had any phone calls or discussions lately with Lauryn Hill, with Wesley Snipes? They did time for not paying their taxes, but this is the message, and we searched for the audio of this, and I don't think that the court has released this yet. So I'm going to tell you what Terrence Howard left a voicemail on the Department of Justice's lead lawyer phone, and it was played in court. And here's what Terrence Howard said, and it's absolutely hilarious, but it's absolutely a true argument. Believe it or not, if you parse through it, for reparations. Here's what Terrence Howard said. He said 400 years of forced labor. This is the message he left. 400 years of forced labor and never receiving any compensation for it. Now you have the gall to try and prosecute and charge taxes to the descendants of a broken people that you are responsible for causing the breakage. So the recording cuts off. It cuts him off in mid-sentence, but then he calls the attorney back to continue his tirade. He says, in truth, the entire United States should, by default, become the property of the descendants of slaves. But since you do not have the ability or the courage to do it, let's try this in court. He says, we're going to bring you down. But despite that, Terrence never showed up in court. Never responded to the lawsuit, and so they passed $1 million judgment against him. But how about that? I don't know. Maybe I have a weird sense of humor, but I found that to be, knee slapping funny. It was absolutely, and Terrence was dead serious. He was dead serious, and you could understand it. You could understand it, but you gotta obey the law, though, Terrence. I just found it hilarious. Also this morning, much to the delight of one of our longtime viewers, much to the excitement, I should say, of one of our longtime viewers, who's actually going to host a viewing party in Louisiana at his home. And I'm sure he's going to have like crawfish and everything. And so Hulu has finally announced the official release date for the documentary Freaknik 94, The Wildest Party Never Told. The documentary will air on March 21st on Hulu in the US, as well as Star Plus in Latin America and Disney. Disney is going to air Freaknik. Wrap your head around that. Wrap your head around that. The Mickey Mouse channel is going to air Freaknik. That is absolutely, it's hilarious. The happiest place on earth now has Freaknik. It's like going to like Chuck E. Cheese and some strippers come out. I mean, come on. What in the world? Why is Disney airing Freaknik? Maybe Power 96 is behind that. But the documentary will tell the story of the Atlanta Spring Break Festival Freaknik, made popular by HBCU students in the 80s and 90s. And according to Hulu, the documentary was created to honor the 40th anniversary of Freaknik, which reached its peak popularity, of course, in the 90s. The highly anticipated documentary is produced by none other than Jermaine Dupri. And of course, you know Uncle Luke Campbell is a producer as well, and 21 Savage. Other executive producers include Terry T.R. Ross, Melissa Cooper, Alex Avant, and Trey Sanders. The project will feature appearances from 21 Savage, Lil Jon, Killer Mike, Jalen Rose, of course, Too Short, Shantae Dawes, and former Atlanta Mayor Kasim Reed. And of course, the man from EPMD, Eric Sermon, will be featured. CeeLo Green, Rico Wade, Kenny Burns, and many more. Freaknik 94, The Wildest Party Never Told. Power 96 says every member of the senior choir is sweating right now. They only got a couple more weeks before they are exposed, Power 96. I have a feeling that if you watch the documentary, at some point, if anybody knows Power 96 personally, or even knows what he looks like, you're going to find him in that documentary somewhere. David Youngblood says he's looking forward to it. Freaknik 94, unbelievable. We used to have something similar, but not as wild, in New York, right? On Jones Beach. It was like just called the Greek Fest. But Freaknik 94 was definitely an Atlanta thing. So this morning, in a move towards easing the financial burdens on working families, Vice President Kamala Harris unveiled a comprehensive set of measures to lower child care costs and provide some crucial support for early educators. The White House noted that the initiative aligns closely with the president's historic executive order on child care. The White House said the Department of Health and Human Services finalized a rule that bolsters the Child Care and Development Block Grant, which is the acronym is CCDBG, which is a cornerstone for child care assistance that benefits over 1 million families every single month. Under that rule, families participating in the Block Grant program will now face a cap on co-payments. It'll limit co-payments to no more than 7% of an individual or family's income. Administration officials said that the move is expected to alleviate the significant financial strain that high co-payments have placed on working families, particularly those with low incomes. The Health and Human Services said that more than 100,000 families will see their co-pays reduced or eliminated altogether because of the rules that the vice president has unveiled. Moreover, they are also urging, because you got to understand too, they can't do the reach of the presidency, the reach of the federal government does not extend necessarily to states. States have to create their own. They can use the federal government can give them money to create certain things like this. And they do have these in place. They just have to enforce them or use them. But the rule, they urge the vice president and the president are really pushing states to eliminate co-payments entirely for families facing specific challenges, such as those with disabilities, of course, those experiencing homelessness. And imagine that, experiencing homelessness, and you go to the doctor, oh, $30, $50 copay. In foster care, in Head Start, and families at or below 150% of the federal poverty level. And then, listen, we can go on a whole rant. In this country, no one should be 150% below the poverty. No one should be below the poverty line at all. But they estimate that, or anyway, it's designed anyway to improve the financial stability of hundreds of thousands of families. So great job by the vice president. The vice president has not, and we know this, has not gotten any of the credit she deserves for the work she's done. I've never been a big fan of Kamala Harris, but I tell you what, she's done a great job. I mean, I've had interactions with her when she was in the Senate, and of course as vice president, but more so in the Senate. And just was never really, Kamala, like so many others. I wasn't anti-Kamala Harris, not pro or anti. I just was, some people you just don't really vibe with at all. And I remember asking her a question once. I mean, of the many questions I asked, I like to think that I asked some intelligent questions. But I remember asking her a question once. She was with Cory Booker, who they were so close that I really thought something was that they were coupled with. I realized she was married to someone else or whatever. Cory Booker was out there dating celebrities and stuff. So whatever. That's beside the point. But I asked her a question one day, and in fact, I asked a question of Cory Booker, and she jumped in because the question was about, at the time, the Me Too movement was in like full swing. And there were some folks who might have been caught up, just being name dropped. And then when the district attorney in New York, Cyrus Vance, made a comment that I will forever remember, it's a Trump-like comment, really, because it's one of the most dangerous comments that someone in his position, it is the most dangerous comment someone in his position can make. He said that a person should be convicted just on an allegation. And I thought, oh no, wait a minute, we've gone too far. And he said he would encourage legislation of such. And so I asked Cory Booker about that. And Kamala Harris jumped in and basically beat the question down. And I was really upset with then Senator Harris at the time. And I'm thinking, you look like me. I know she has multiple ethnicities going. Cory definitely looks like me. We know the history of Black people being accused. We know the challenges of Black people being accused in a court of law. And so I was really, really, really disappointed in the senator at the time, but she's done a great job though, guys. She really has. She's done a fantastic job. That was the federal, not the federal, but that was the prosecutor in her, and probably, trying to have the back of another prosecutor. But I don't think she really considered the question in its proper context. And maybe I didn't ask it in the proper context. Who knows? But we move on. But you're right, Power. She will not receive the credit until she's out of office. And that is always, revisionist history is always big with most people, right? But she's done such a great job as vice president. We know that she's had so many hurdles that they've made her, they've tried to sideline her. They've tried to make it seem like he's irrelevant. I would love, for instance, if they decide to do debates, because there's talk that Biden is not going to debate Trump, and I don't blame him. I wouldn't debate him either. There's nothing to debate. It may or may not be a good reason, but that's just me. I'm not a political guy. Again, I report on politics, but that's it. But I will say this. I would love to see Vice President Kamala Harris, if indeed Tim Scott is Trump's choice for vice. I would love to see that debate. I would pay to watch that debate with popcorn. I'd be sitting in the front. I've got to cover it. Is really. I would love to. Somebody asked me the other day, was I going? There you go. There you go. Was I going to the DNC, the convention? I don't like those conventions, and hopefully I'm not. Dr. Chavis doesn't ask me to go. They're just. It's full of just. We go to Capitol Hill. We go to the White House. We go to these. Where we talk to lawmakers and talk to officials, and for the most part, you just get whatever. At these conventions, all you're getting is folks talking good about themselves and their candidate. So look, you don't necessarily get to ask questions. You listen. It's like a convention, so whatever. No. In Mississippi, Vicksburg National Military Parks is a hilly battlefield where Union and Confederate soldiers fought and died over whether the U.S. would continue to allow slavery in the South. Well, Union forces, of course, we know, won a pivotal campaign to capture the town of Vicksburg and gain control of the Mississippi River in 1863, which hastened the war's end. But Vicksburg venerated the Confederacy and ignored the history of Black soldiers who fought for the Union. Black soldiers' valor and service to the country is no longer ignored thanks to the efforts of historians, park employees, and others down there. On a recently christened morning, Thelma Sims Dukes, who grew up during the 1940s and 50s in a segregated Mississippi town steeped in Civil War history, and whose great-great-grandfather, William Sims, was one of the Black soldiers who fought. She and her niece, Sarah Sims, and 4 park employees, 2 of them who were Black men wearing a U.S. Army uniforms from the Civil War, they placed American flags on 13 graves where a group of recently identified Black soldiers are buried in Vicksburg National Cemetery, which is part of the military park. A historian working for the park, her name is Beth. She identified the soldiers through research of military records, newspapers, and other sources. See, newspapers are still important, y'all. Their remains lie beneath white marble headstones carved with numbers rather than names, as are most, we know, of the veterans buried there, Black veterans buried there. But in recent years, the National Park Service has broadened how it presents history in parks nationwide. In Vicksburg Military Park, which is has 1,400 monuments, markers, and tablets. That's a huge tourist attraction. So they're finally getting it right. They're paying homage to the Black soldiers, and they're making more dedications there. And remember, the former president, the twice impeached, 4 times indicted former president, fought against removing Confederate monuments. He fought against placing or making these type of changes that they are now making down in the deep South of Mississippi. So just things as a by the way. So as we move on from that, a 114-year-old Houston woman has become the oldest living person in the United States, according to Longevity Quest, which is an organization that tracks human longevity across the globe. Elizabeth Francis, a Black woman, is now the oldest living American at age 114 and 217 days. The previous oldest living American, I should say, died last week Edie, I should say, Cesarelli, at the age of 116. Frances is now the 5th oldest person on Earth. She's also included on the list of super centenarian. How do you say centenarian? Whatever. These are people who are 110 and older. So Dr. Nicole knows what I'm trying to say. And it's been validated by several research groups. And so she goes on to say, it's not my secret. It's the Lord, it's the good Lord's good blessing, is what she said in a recent interview. She says, I just thank God I'm here. She was born on July 25th. Listen to this. It's unbelievable when you think about it. But she was born on July 25th, 1909. And she says, nope. She was born July 25th, 1909, a few months after William Taft took the oath of office. And 11 years, she was born 11 years before women had the right to vote in the United States. And look, she's lived through 2 world wars, the 1918 pandemic, and of course, the COVID pandemics. She lives with her 94-year-old daughter. She lives with her 94-year-old daughter. Y'all heard that right. Dorothy Williams. They live in a private residence where caregivers come to the home every day. Her granddaughter, Ethel Harrison, told Today.com, NBC's Today, that it's just amazing that we're so grateful that she's still here. And my mom, who's her daughter, she only had 1 child, is still also alive. And they do something right in that family because it runs in the family. One of her sisters lived till she was 106. And her father died at the age of 99. Ms. Harrison said Frances has some memory. She does have some memory problems and is confined to her bed, but she's mentally alert and she recognizes her family. And then she shared this. He says, try to do the best thing you can do. She says to everybody, she says, love everybody. She said some of her healthy habits were having social connections and supportive relationships. She's a fan of eating fresh, home-cooked foods and, of course, having faith. She says her granddaughter says she tried to do things to stay healthy. Her life basically was pretty simple. She didn't go out to parties and stuff like that. She was more of a homebody. She says she never smoked, she never drank, and she regularly walked until her early 90s. It is Power 96, just amazing. He says, salute to those beautiful African-American women. How about that? Those are the type of stories we like to do. We enjoy the most. Awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. So I got a bone to pick with Madonna. And so does the estate of Luther Vandross. Luther has been removed finally from this age tribute that Madonna does during her current celebration concert tour. She made the change at the request of Luther's estate. What she does is she looks back during the tour. She's looking back over the decades of her career, and then what happens at that moment when she starts to reminisce. They do a montage and pay tribute to those who have lost their lives to AIDS, like Freddie Mercury, Sylvester, Keith Haring. And they have these faces appear on the screens above her. And then she sings the song Live to Tell. Well, did somebody tell Madonna that Luther somehow died as a result of AIDS? Because they told you wrong, Madonna. Luther died in 2005 after a stroke. It was complications related to a stroke. There was no medical report, no medical release from his family or period that suggested in any way that Luther was suffering and died because of AIDS. And in a very nicely worded statement, the estate of Luther Vandross says, while we appreciate Madonna's recognition of those lives lost to AIDS, Luther was never diagnosed with AIDS or the HIV virus. We're not sure where she or her production team received false medical information claiming otherwise. Madonna now has said she has removed Luther's image from that montage. But how do you be so careless, callous? I mean, there's no shame to those. It's not about shame. There's no shame to Freddie Mercury and all that they died of AIDS. The shame is that they died, period. But it's like putting up a montage of people who died of gunshot wounds, and somebody just died of natural causes. He puts Luther up, and like they said in their statement, where did you get this information? And you could say, well, she probably gonna blame her team, or whatever, as celebrities want. They do it all the time, right? But Madonna is extremely famous for, and particularly when she's in concert, controlling everything, making every single decision down to the minute of details. So we have every reason to believe that this was a Madonna situation, perhaps complicated by recent reports, again, speculating about Luther's sexuality, which is really ridiculous. Because even if, and when he was alive, he denied, and let's be clear, AIDS is not a gay disease. But here's the thing. It's not just people who are homosexual who get AIDS. We know that. By 2024, we know that. 1984, maybe we didn't know that. And so Madonna makes these decisions. And now as I said, recent reporting about Luther and speculation about Luther, it was reignited a few years ago when Patti LaBelle made some, what I felt at the time were misguided statements, revealing or purporting to reveal some private conversations she had with Luther, in which she says herself she was urging him to come out the closet, as it were. When, and listen, maybe he was, but why not take a person? But he said he wasn't. But it doesn't mean that Madonna is very media verse. She's very media savvy, I should say, as well. She used the media to her advantage for so many years, for decades. So, and she knows what could come of this. She knows what could come of that. Looking at gossip. Because what Patti was doing, and we like Patti, of course, everybody likes Patti. What she was doing was gossiping. So it was almost like Madonna picked up the National Enquirer or something and went and ran with it. And so you see the statement from Luther's his family, his estate. And like I said, it was very kindly worded, but very, very tersely worded too, right? I mean, kind and terse at the same time. How do you get that, right? But they really, really, I think they made their point in a very nice way. Since we're not sure where she or her production team received false medical information. Yeah. And, you know, Luther's one of those, one of the greatest voices ever, right? Who just never got his due when he was alive. He won a Grammy finally right after he died. Finally won Grammy Awards after he died. Talk about, you know, I think again and again, you guys have made it clear that what Jay-Z did at the Grammys last month was really great. You know, standing up for his wife like that, about not winning album of the year. But this is when I initially thought about what Jay-Z was saying. I'm thinking about all the others who was ignored. The greats like a Luther Vandross. Who has a voice like Luther Vandross? Like Whitney Houston. I mean, she's won Grammys, but who has a voice? Who had a voice like Whitney before her problems? There was some real, listen, y'all, I'm glad that we do have some young ones watching, because y'all miss some great voices in music. Not to say you don't have any today, but we had our pick of the litter back in the day, as they say, back in the day. But Luther was certainly immensely talented. That voice was amazing. And it was a few of them, like we said. Then you got to mention Whitney as well. And all these people, all these individuals, I should say, gone way too soon. Folks, it's gonna be a great weekend. I feel it. It's Friday, and we're gonna have some fun. But here's one thing, though. Before we go, we gotta let you in on this. You remember a few days ago we brought you the information, the story about Donald Trump. In fact, last weekend when he's in South Carolina, Black conservatives, the blacks, and so more footage from that has been put online, has been released, and now we get a very clear picture of who was and wasn't there. Very interesting. Watch this, and we'll briefly talk about it. Let's take a look. So, do y'all see what I see? Look at that crowd. That was billed and told that this was a crowd full of Black folks. Number one. Number two, these people were clapping as he was talking about, he relates to Black people, the blacks, because he's been arrested, because he has a mugshot. And he made that stupid joke about he can't see any, it's so dark he can only see the Black people, which is so stupid. Yesterday, I was with some other reporters at Hakeem Jeffries' office, and including the young lady from ABC News. She was at that rally, and she said she was covering it. She's not a Black conservative. She was only there to cover it because it was supposed to be for Black conservatives. And she said that they had a few people in the front egging the crowd on. Of course, they made sure that the camera stayed on Trump and Byron Donalds behind him. And it made it seem like he was talking to Black people. There's a room full of white folks. So again, the puppet master, the Wizard of Oz, can when you remove the curtain, you can see what really is the case. This guy told everyone, because remember they were the ones who was broadcasting it. They had control of all of that, so they kept the camera on the stage only. And he's insulting, making these racist remarks, making it seem like black people is full of black people, and that they are okay with this idea that we can relate. Smoke and mirrors, his entire campaign, his entire business, his entire life. Somebody said that again yesterday, and I think it's okay to say this because again, the conversation with Luther Jeffries was off the record, but as he said, and I think it's okay to say that he said this, that he's not, folks like these black men you hear, oh, Trump's a great businessman or whatever. Show where he's a great businessman. This guy has filed bankruptcy at least a half dozen times. And so it is smoke and mirrors. His whole life has been smoke and mirrors. He's got photo ops with folks like Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson, Don King. I mean, you go on, all these rappers, Steve Harvey, the shucking and jiving people, later. It's all been smoke and mirrors. So you got to hand it to him. As I'm trying to, which was it? Jeffries? Someone said he was it was Jeffries during the Asala lunch. He's a master manipulator. So you got to give him, I guess, in some ways, credit for that, right? Being able to manipulate folks so much. And David Youngblood said he lost every dime he inherited, and he inherited a whole lot. A whole lot. It was the presidency that helped him to regain some of that wealth. Not only regain some, I shouldn't say some of it, regain all that wealth and then wealth back and then add to it. And that's one of the reasons why he wants that office again. As we, again, don't ignore the January report by a congressional investigative committee that said he was reaping some big financial benefits by trading things with foreign governments. Perhaps, they said trading favors. I'm not gonna add or take away from what they said. I'm going to give you exactly what they said: trading favors with foreign governments. They tracked at least $7 million. So there you have it. But that rally was important, and good call by Greer again. But that rally is smoke and mirrors. See, I thought we'd get through Friday without talking about Trump. It was my intention to get through Friday without talking about Trump. And I see where Stephen A. Smith doubled down and went on another rant, another pro-Trump rant. It's out of control. It's out of control. I told Hakeem Jeffries, you remember, because he was talking about this, that when he gave that tribute to Biggie Smalls on the House floor. And one of the things he said when he was going to give that tribute, he said that he told his aides and folks there in the house that he was going to do this. And some of his staffers told him, no, you can't do that. And he said, look, how many times has Frank Sinatra been paid tribute from the House floor? How many times has Elvis Presley been paid tribute from the House floor? And they said, yeah, several times. He said, today it's going to be Biggie Smalls. And he says when he goes home, a lot of times when he goes home in Brooklyn, he said the young guys and women, that's the one thing they bring up. You are the congressman who did the Biggie Smalls tribute on the House floor. That was dope. So I said to him, you should send that a recording of that to Snoop Dogg, to Ice Cube, to Killer Mike, and Stephen A. Smith, and the rest of them. He thought it was a good idea. I come up with some good ideas every now and again, but here's the best idea of all: is to go have a great weekend. Everybody be safe, and no more freezing frame Mitch, right? We'll see you next week on Let It Be Known.